Hey, 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 Compass Travelers! What is up? So, today we are going to have Nevaeh on to talk all about vulnerability and the importance of having a community. And personally, she has inspired me so much. She's such an awesome woman leader, and she's inspired me. She started creating grief circles on North Shore, and she's just really inspiring. Hey!
Hey, you're live.
What's up, girl?
How's it going?
Good. I like your flower.
Thank you. Got it at the bottom of the hill this morning.
Flying goddess.
Likewise. How you been?
Good. How about you?
Good. Grateful to be here. Grateful to be connecting with your followers and my followers and just making sure my photos. So, can you hear me okay?
You're going in and out a little bit.
I might need to relocate.
Are you in the treehouse? Hi everyone that's tuning in. What's up? Yeah, I think your Wi-Fi is a little bit spotty.
Okay, how about now?
That's better.
Okay.
Are you at the treehouse area?
Yes, I am. You can get a little house tour.
Very nice.
Yes.
Woo! Which house is that?
It's the surf cabin. So for those tuning in, I live in a little treehouse community.
Oh, that looks so nice. Yeah,
it's pretty magical.
The most beautiful treehouse community you can imagine on this jungly mountain on North Shore overlooking Sunset Beach. It's freaking beautiful.
I feel pretty blessed.
Too.
Yes, yes, yes.
That's my favorite place. It makes my day showing out there.
Yeah, it's definitely home. So.
Yeah. All right.
So
we're going to talk about why we need community so much. And so you've created community here on the North Shore, and you've inspired me so much because you're such a cool female leader, and I look up to you because you're doing it, and it's so cool to see someone doing it and creating a community. So you're all about bringing people together and allowing them to be vulnerable together, allowing them to express that life isn't always amazing. There are some things that we want to talk about where it's I'm dealing with this grief, I'm dealing with this frustration, and I need some people to support me with this. And that's super, super important. So why do you think we need community, and why have you shown up here in Hawaii and created community, and why do you want to spread more community?
Community. Yes, absolutely. It's funny you say that actually because I started doing these circles because I just was really going through it, and I had been to something similar. I had been to other grief circles or new moon circles off of the island, and they had really changed my life completely and allowed me to move from one phase to the next in a really supported, effortless way. And so when I got back to the island, I had been traveling for a little bit. I remember going on a walk with my friend Ashley, and I told her I was going to start doing these circles. I'd been thinking about doing it for a while, and finally, I just needed it so badly. And I had no idea if anyone was going to be into it or not. But I told her, I was like, if it's just you and me sitting and you're listening to me cry for an hour this next new moon, it's happening because I need this. And what ended up happening was a lot more people showed up than I thought. And it was a really beautiful circle of women holding authentic, vulnerable space for each other. And really like the circle created itself. It was so incredible. Like my friend offered her home, and then within moments, a bunch of sisters had entered and created this beautiful altar, and just the magic that was in that space. And once we opened that container for a lot of transformation to come through. So I got into grief because I needed it. And then I sought out mentorship and guidance from some of my teachers and started to kind of understand the cultural importance of it. And I know we had talked a little bit about that in the last circle that you were at. Is that cool if I go ahead and share a little bit of it?
Yes. Yeah. I loved, yeah.
Oh, hi, Heather. She's tuning in from Mexico. It's so good to see you. So yeah, when I sought out more guidance around the topic of grief, and I've been trained been training in a lineage of African teachers, and so I sought out guidance from one of my mentors who studied under a woman named Sibunfu Some, and she had taught about how if you go over to a lot of these African communities and you try to explain to them anxiety or depression, the people over there don't even know what you're talking about. And the reason for this is because they meet just as ritually to grieve as they do to celebrate. So just as actively as they're throwing parties and celebrations, they're coming together to feel their feelings. And something about that, you know, being able to look other humans in the eyes while you're going through whatever you're going through allows you to kind of dissipate that disconnection or that anxiety. And creates space for everyone to feel seen and heard. So I then found out that in Hawaiian culture, grief and celebration are synonymous. So they both represent the ending or the culmination of something. And you can't really have balance in your society without one or the other. So that's kind of why we started creating that space here, is to invite more balance in, especially after COVID that had invited in so much like all our mental health stuff starts coming up, right? Once we're like trapped in our houses indefinitely. Yeah. So people are looking for more resources, myself included, and just creating the space where we can be together has been really transformational.
Yeah, that's so good. And I like never really gave myself the time to think, okay, like I'm always so positive, always like trying to be as positive as possible, trying to like be like, everything's great, like it's fine, like something bad happened, like trying to push through it. But over time, like that seriously can weigh on you, and like everything can't be perfect. Like you start to expect yourself, like everything has to be perfect. Like if one little thing goes wrong, you're like, oh my gosh, what am I doing wrong, you know? Yeah. And instead of putting so much pressure on ourselves to be so perfect all the time, it's super important to like welcome in that grief and those negatives just as much as the perfect seasons in your life, and like have a group of people that are like, yeah, I get that too. Like that's normal. Like let's be here just to like recognize and realize that, and like, yeah, just see it, because
witness
it's
it.
Not really, recognized a lot. So
yeah. I mean, if you've gone into any of Gabor Mate's work, he's a teacher that's speaking a lot on trauma right now, and just talking about how as a society we've become grief phobic and trauma illiterate, and learning to seek that language again, you know, like allow someone to collapse into tears in your arms. And we have this habit in society of being like, oh, like that's yours, like don't be bringing your bad vibes all on me, you know, or like go deal with that and come back.
Like, instead I don't want your negative vibes or
yeah. And instead of being able to just be like, okay, like you're not feeling awesome right now, let's just sit with it, and I'm cool to do me next to you, and you can do you, and I'm able to hold space for it. And you can't really heal anything effectively until it's that feeling itself is safe to exist, right? Like you can't really stuff anything down until you learn how to love it. And so part of circling up, even if you're not actively grieving, is about learning how to sit in the presence of these emotions and love those too.
Yeah. And that's so amazing. And I needed that so much. Like the first one I went to was so incredibly healing, and I can't wait to do it as much as possible. But like, I also feel like the best of friends that you have in your life are the ones that you can like have a bad day and call them crying and be like, I'm having a horrible day, this went wrong, this went wrong, this went wrong, and they're there to listen, you know, like that's
100%
super important. And like I know my mom's that for me and stuff, but like not a lot of people can have that. Like I know there's a lot of people that just, you know, have to keep it to themselves, or like they don't want to share the bad. And yeah, it makes it really hard. So it's
especially, yeah, totally. And I'd love to hear actually more about your experience, like first going to one of these circles, because I know that can be a hard decision, right, to show up to like a grief circle because you don't know what you're getting into. So I'm just kind of curious how that was for you, deciding to go, like why you went and what you were expecting and how you felt.
Yeah, I am always trying to push myself out of my comfort zone. So when I heard about this, I thought, I don't know, I thought like I've never been to a grief circle, and this is my first time. And so I usually just am trying to be super positive, go with the positive, and don't focus on the negatives, don't focus on sadness. Like, so I don't give myself that time to like cry. I don't give myself that time to process. And like, even though things can be amazing and great, you know, like for example, things in life are amazing and great right now, but there's always like, I miss my family from home. Like there's always like something that I don't let myself feel, you know, or I don't let myself recognize, because I'm like, oh, I can't think, like that's just gonna, you know, throw me off. But in order to have a balance and in order to feel how great the goods are, you have to feel the bads and you have to be recognized in that. And finding people to hear it was so amazing, because yeah, like I know I expressed in the circle like my stress, my anxiety, my OCD, and my sadness about sexism in the world, and how much that affects me in my life. And it was really cool to be able to express that, and then have Vance next to me and like have men next to me being like, I'm holding your space for you, like I'm here for you, I understand, like not understand, but like want to support you and feel like you're okay even though you feel those ways. Like, and also having a woman that literally just like feel the same way as me and be like, I get it, I go through that all the time, I struggle with that daily. Like it really puts your fears and your doubts and everything into perspective, because every single human like has the same feelings. And so if we come together and support each other, then the feelings won't be as like in this little chamber of just you feeling it and echoing. It's more, okay, it's a collective thing that we need to work on together.
100%. Yeah. I mean, and Heather says our shadow is the gateway to our healing. 100%. Yeah, there's this really amazing medicine story of the cows and the buffalo, and the cows will spend they will run almost across country like to escape a storm that's chasing them for miles and miles and miles, but the buffalo will turn and run straight through the storm. Mm-hmm. And it passes right over them, and then they're on to clear pastures. And it's the same way with our shadow. If we can just turn and go straight through. And the power of the circle and just being surrounded by other reflections that can evoke the emotion that you've repressed in your body is, like, I can't even say how amazing that is, because there will be people that will speak to a pocket of grief that you've had stored somewhere and carrying around, and that's all emotional weight in your body. And because someone else speaks to it, it allows you to basically, and I've seen people like come to multiple circles and still never cry because we've kind of numbed a lot. Not to say that everyone has to cry to grieve, but it can take a while to recognize like, oh, it's safe to actively be in emotion and let it move out in front of other people, because we've kind of gotten the habit of only crying alone in our cars or in our rooms or in our closets, you know, instead of in front of people. So I think the more comfortable we can get with allowing ourselves to be witnessed, then we don't have to hold on to this emotion anymore. And just like we're medicating a lot of it because we haven't learned to hold space. If we can actually practice this, and it is a practice, right? Like, we're never going to be perfect, but it's kind of like exercising a muscle. So like when we talk about having compassion or having integrity, like those values are developed in spaces of vulnerability like these. Yeah. So learning to like be there and not run is something that, oh, hey, Ryan, how's it going?
Hey. Yeah. I think, what do you think when you're going to that storm, you're going into that, so if you have anxiety or if you have something that's bothering you and you fully like embrace it, how do you think people should show up and support you and like be there for you when you're going through the shit? Like what can what's a good way to respond to that, and what's a good way to kind of accept it and feel it, but like get over it in a way? Like how do you think people should show up when that's happening?
Well, I try to stay away from the word should, right? Because like we're going to keep leaning into better and better responses along our way, and we're all learning, right? Mm-hmm. And the best I know at this point, I think, is to first not try to fix anything, right? We're not here to be fixed. We're here to be loved. So accepting what is and fully loving it and sending that love. And I think one of the techniques that my dad always used with me growing up, which I loved, was the feel, felt, found technique. So noticing what someone's feeling or speaking to it. So for example, I'm noticing that you're feeling a lot of anxiety. I can remember when I felt a lot of anxiety. So relating to a time where maybe you've been in that same position. And this is why it gets difficult for a lot of people, is because we can't go back and revisit that time we felt anxiety because we haven't fully processed it, right?
Yeah.
So instead of actually looking at,
we're like, oh, we're not there anymore. Yeah.
I don't have any of that, so I need to like run away. But if we are emotionally clear and we are able to hold that space, the feel, felt, so I can recognize that you're feeling this. I felt that way too at this point, and I found that this is what helped me. Or I found that I was completely lovable and it was okay for me to feel anxiety at that time. It's just, it was what happened. And also like that anxiety creates the environment for your soul to start shooting off rockets of desire for like what it is you actually want. So maybe it's more of a peaceful life. Maybe it's more connection. Maybe it's more honesty. And if we didn't get to that anxious place, we probably wouldn't be sending off all of those like demands, that these are like our orders that we're placing into the restaurant of life, and we need to let those fire off in those places of discomfort, because that's powerful energy too, that's valuable.
Yeah, that's so true. It really is telling you maybe an area that you need to work on, or an area that you need to see, or an area you need to understand more, love more. Yeah. So I love that. That's awesome.
Yeah, so after your first ceremony, I guess, your first grief circle that you went to, how was it that you integrated that into your life, or how did you feel afterwards?
I just felt like I had more of a community out here that I could rely on. And I felt like, wow, like I'm not alone, and that I have the support.
Yeah.
And that's what everyone wants. Like that's what everyone hopes for. So it just feels really good to finally have a community that I feel comfortable with for the first time. So
it means so much. Yeah. And I think
it's
so
so
many
important.
people come out to this island, to find family and find community. And just lastly, I think I want to add one more thing from this elder I sat with last weekend, started teaching me the meaning of ohana and what that word actually means. And it totally transformed the way I see how I'm relating with my community. He talked about the O, and how the O is symbolizes, the center of creation, the O. And then the ha is the ha. It's the emptying. It's the moment of emptiness. Before you create connection, you empty yourself. So that means you empty yourself of your preconceptions, your ego, your expectations, empty it out, and then you just have you. And then the na, it's kind of like that n. So it's that upper, like the unleashing that you get energetically with the N. And it's the unleashing of grace. And grace in this context means to leave someone or something better than you found it.
Yeah.
Which I loved.
I love that. I didn't know that meant. Wow.
Yeah,
that's
so
cool.
I've just been meditating on that, and how to really like be in the frequency of ohana, of family. It means emptying yourself, of all of your preconceptions, your ego. And then the na means to really unleash grace on everyone around you. So unleashing love, unleashing acceptance. And that means that people can be however, or they can be in whatever emotional state they're in, and all you're going to do is love them and leave them feeling safer and leave them feeling more accepted.
Yeah.
So it's a practice.
That's such, I feel like as soon as I think of why, I really feel like that was a huge concept here. Like loving yourself how you are, like you're good the way you are, like you don't need to do anything. You're perfect the way you are, like flaws and everything. You're perfect, like you're great. And having people that are just like, like, why are you stressed? There's nothing to be stressed about. Life is beautiful. Like,
Yeah.
that is something that I really have totally accepted into my life, and it's been the most healing having that lifestyle around me. So yeah.
And it's also okay to be stressed, you know, like even in this beautiful location, like you're still going to have feelings that may not feel beautiful in the moment until you can see the beauty in those too, you know? And so creating the space when I first moved to Hawaii, like I was super depressed because I was missing Guatemala where I used to live, which is like everyone was around me was like, what's wrong with you? Like you live in this beautiful place ever. Like, why are you so bummed? And I missed that heart chakra feeling that I got in that country. So creating that here and also honoring the fact that like there is a lot of grieving to do on these islands. They have been overtaken. There's a lot of collective, you know, transition and peace building that needs to happen here to have full connectivity. So that means like looking at, we are both the light and the dark. And that's why like gathering in the darkest aspect of the moon cycle, which is the new moon, and in that moment of darkness, being able to sit and be in the darkness and be okay there, you know?
Yeah, and I think especially here on the island, like things get very, like the energy, if you feel an energy, it is like 10 times that, because it's like such a saturated
100%.
place. So it's like either like you really need to either like go through it, or like it can dissolve you and you know have to leave the island because it's just so intense. So it's like emotions are so much more intense here, I feel like. And yeah, just I've realized with time and patience things will meld into what you want. So yeah, and like patience really has been taught on this island as well. So
yeah, definitely.
What do you suggest for people that that don't have this at home or don't have community that they feel super comfortable being vulnerable with? What do you think? Like, I would love to extend like my messages, my DMs, like anything for people to feel that way, but I know it's super hard to kind of be accepted, or like someone will accept you to be that for them, you know? Like how do you think we could show up like that?
Yeah. I mean, I think trusting that humans really do want to be there and listen to you. I've had plenty of stranger on a train experiences where, you know, people ask you how you're doing and you're like, just tell them straight up exactly how you're doing. And they actually really want to listen.
Those
so
are the
believing, best. Yeah, right.
Like when you just meet the strangers and they're like, you know, and they just like 100% I'm like,
yeah.
Yes, you're my friend.
And being that person too for strangers and like really listening and recognizing that even in this 5-minute exchange, like a lot of healing can take place.
Yeah.
So believing in a world where people really do want to hear you. And if you don't feel like you have these resources or somewhere you can go and be heard, creating them, right? Like I didn't have them here on the island, and but I had been to circles that had been so life-changing for me, and I just recognized, you know, the importance of doing it. And then as soon as I started doing it, like 2 or 3 months later, I saw another woman on another like side of the island doing it, and then some. So I think all across the world, like we're getting these downloads. And actually, the same month that I started doing women's circles, the guy that lived below me, without us talking about it, started doing men's circles. Hearing. So I think, you know, spirits pinging down and saying like, you know, gather and create spaces for vulnerability. And we're not when I look at the scope of the world, I don't think we're moving into a future with less trauma or less grief or, you know, less hardship. I think we're actually probably, because of the disconnectivity in our electronics and whatnot, we're probably moving into more dissociative behavior. So we want to really create as much trauma literacy and as much grief tolerance as we can in our own bodies. And what that means is just like showing up and being able to, you know, instead of leaning away and being like, oh no, that's heavy, or like, I can't handle that. Like I can be here present, embodied for whatever my community needs. And you don't have to fix anything. You don't have to do anything. And that's the most beautiful thing about the grief circle is when someone shares, you know, we all place our hands over our heart and inhale and then exhale and then just send love to them. So it's just a witness. There's no needing to fix it. It's purely being seen, which I think is what our souls are asking of us right now. So create the resources if you don't have them, and also believe in a world where you actually do have them, because you probably have more resources than you think.
Yeah, I feel like as soon as you start seeking out that support and comfort and vulnerability and community, it'll open up to you if you search for it, if you look for it. And even like even just like coming on here on this live, for the people that are on this live, like if you're still here, like you're looking for this, like you're receiving like a community and like people that understand right now. Like if you want to feel like you want to express or be vulnerable, like we're here for you. And like now that you're here, you know, like you've been looking for it, so you're meant to be here for a reason. You've been looking for support and community, and yeah, it'll present itself to you in many ways if you just allow it to. So, and you like, I feel like there's a lot of people that want it but won't accept it. They're like, oh, I want, like I was talking to my friend and she's like, oh, I want this community, I want this, but then won't go and show up to like a yoga class, or won't go and show up to a circle where you're talking and being really vulnerable. Like just doesn't feel like they can take that jump to do it. Like they just don't feel like they're ready.
Yeah.
But
which I can relate to, you know, like I've had days where I felt like, okay, I'm ready to go out and meet with people. And then I've had days where like this was the first year where I think I experienced anxiety like ever in my life, you know, and I can now relate with how that feels and hesitating around connection before jumping into things, because you don't know like what's going to be in a pool of energy when you get there. And part of that again is like creating more internal resilience and having just radical self-compassion. So if you ever feel like you can't get up and go, like honor your body and honor what it's saying. And there will be a time when the window opens and you can go to the circle, you know, but if you're not there in that moment, reach out to one person, or even just offer yourself a breath of compassion for exactly where you're at in that moment, because where you're at is perfect. And I have had ceremonies too that are circles that we've organized too, where like the day of, I'm like, oh, like nobody's going to come. I'm super stressed. I don't want to go. I'm exhausted emotionally, and carrying like a heavy basket of crystals down the hill. But deciding to go anyways. And I think when you recognize the momentum that you have with the moon on your side, especially if we remember to live in accordance with the lunar cycles, we recognize that all of nature is doing the same thing. So that moment of emptiness is so much more supported, and our darkness is like literally mirrored by the moon. So she's our first reflection. And when we can go and ceremonialize these cycles throughout the month, we're connecting to our most raw origin, which is these massive rocks floating throughout space. And there is a timely cycle in that. So reflecting that our light works in harmony with the light that's reflected on each of these surfaces too. That to me has had powerful magnitude.
Life's crazy. Human experience is crazy. We are just floating on a rock right now. But I feel like the times where you feel like you don't need it the most is when you need it the most. Like if you feel like super weird about it, like showing up, I'm always like super thankful that I go. Like if I go and I'm super ready for it, and like it's not as meaningful, but if I go and like really like break those boundaries and ask myself, okay, what's holding me back, and then break it, and then like while I'm sitting with a group of people, I'm like, wow, I really needed this. Like I didn't even realize that I really needed this.
And recognizing that there are spaces where you can come as you are, like literally you can come as you are, and in whatever stage you're in, and that's why you're there, to either support or be supported. And it's okay if you have like nothing to give and you just need to be with other humans, you know, like there's no conditions to how you can be loved. You just are.
I love that. Getting comfortable with being uncomfortable. Yes, that's so important. So important. And then last thing, what do you think the importance of ceremony and communal recognition? So like, I think that's a really cool concept that like weddings and funerals like move us onto the next stage of life and like bring us into that next feeling. And like, I feel like since COVID, we haven't really had any of those events. So like just time kind of just went past. And now we're just like, all right, we're still alive. Like now what? Like, you know, it's just like, and a lot of people are working from home. So there's not like those like meetings where you're meeting with people, that those ceremonies that kind of like bring you into the next stage of time. So yeah, I really do think that ceremony is so important. Like when we moved into our new house, we had like a big housewarming party, you know, like welcoming in this new step and like this new home and everything, and having people come and say hello to the home. Like that's like important. Like it's or else
it's a new relationship.
Like it's super important to have community and have those celebrations in life, because it just feels like all one big thing if you don't celebrate the ups and the downs and everything. And it's cool that you're saying to celebrate the downs with the group, you know?
Yeah, I think the more we can make it beautiful, all of it, the more fun life gets, right? Because all the stuff that we want to like put in a closet and do it privately is creating more shame, it's creating more anxiety, it's creating more depression. When if we can celebrate it and bring it out into the light, bring the darkness into the light, you can't heal a wound until it's exposed to the sunlight. If you keep it covered like forever, it's going to stay wet. So it's similar with our emotions. And I mean, I had kind of a similar thing happening when I lost a cat, and I could not get over it. And when I was able to go to a grieving circle with a bunch of strangers and just cry my eyes out, and the magic of that moment was like in that home there was one cat, and it came out while I was talking during the ceremony and then left right as I was done talking, which I've seen happen with dogs, I've seen happen with like animals, and just the whole universe conspires to support us when we meet in a circle. And I've seen it again and again and again. So the more I can say, like, let's create more of this in our community and show up for each other, and then do this in our respective communities, like in our families, the better. And then we create more literacy with our emotions and with each other, and more grace and ease and celebration. It's all a party. Like, even I had an aunt actually that would show up like when somebody like scrapes their knee or was going through a breakup.
Real emotion moment. Oh my gosh, that's great.
Yeah, just learning to capture it all.
Those make us who we are. They are just as important events. Yeah, that's so true. Yeah.
So just lastly, I wanted to touch on, I'm not going to be here for this next new moon, and that's kind of why we had this IG live, is because you're going to co-create the next new moon circle. And so do you have anything to say, like leading into that, how you're feeling about it, what you're calling in for it?
Yeah, I am super excited to lead a group. I've been really calling in being more a leader in the spiritual community and really bringing together sisters that feel the same way. And I think a big part of my journey is balancing the masculine and the feminine in me, and allowing myself to feel all the feels and be vulnerable in front of people without feeling that stress from it. And I really just wanted to show up and let people be able to be that. And yeah, I want to be an example of like complete vulnerability, and I can be weird, awkward, strange, goofy, and let them be that too. And like, I'll be that, and you can now be that too. Like, show them it's freaking okay to show up just as you are. And yeah, I'm excited to be doing that with a group here in Hawaii.
And you've already been doing it. I mean, I see you leading your meditation circles, and you're creating that space here online, which I love, and did that as well in the grieving circles. It is different when you set it up and you're like, all right, here we gathered to grieve, and I'm going to start bawling my eyes out first, and maybe nobody else is going to follow. I'm like, first of all, guys, I need this, so thanks for being here.
No, seriously.
But yeah, even when you're not actively grieving, it's still important. I really, really feel like it's so important to show up for others that are too. And I'm just so grateful. I think the more that I've like called on this energy in our community, the more it's been there. And like, we're all here showing up for each other more and more and more. So I just want to like speak to that. And like the people that are on this live, that are even able to listen to this conversation, like we are growing together, and we are getting better at talking about these hard topics. And that's what's going to be needed so that we can be free, you know, so we can heal ourselves.
Yes, you're the catalyst to opening this up, making this more.
Well, thank you for keeping it going, and for recognizing the importance of it. And it's a community-led effort, right? So like when I say like leading the circles, it's really just like choosing a house and a topic and then showing up there. And then it's a co-creation. Like we make the altar together. People will bring like photos or like talismans or things that symbolize what they are grieving or actively moving through that month. And so just like creating more of a habit here. If it doesn't exist in your community, if you've tuned into this live and they don't have those resources there, like reach out to me, reach out to either one of us too. And I'm so more than happy to kind of let you know how much I'm winging it and also like provide any resources that I do have.
Yeah, and I would love to, if people want, I would love to like continue showing up, like just having these vulnerable talks. Like I'm going to continue doing this because I just love it so much. And maybe I could think about having like a circle and recording it live so people online can also tune in, so they don't feel like just because they're not in Hawaii they can't tune in and be part of this, because I know so many people on the mainland that want this too. So yeah, if you guys
we have had circles in the past where we've had a computer set up with a Zoom there too, so that is also a possibility to even have like a computer as interface.
I think that's great. Okay, cool.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so excited. Cool. Well, I'm glad this is still happening. I won't be on the island, but I'll be there in spirit, definitely, ceremonializing with you guys. But yeah, thanks for getting on here, Casey, and for spreading the good word.
Yeah, thanks for talking. Much love, sis.
Thanks for having me. All right, aloha. I'll see you soon.
Aloha.